Hi, everybody. It's episode 519 of PodQuest.
Hey!
It is Wednesday, July 24th, 2024. I am Chris. With me is Walnut.
Yeah, I'm here.
We lost Druten. He went out for cigarettes and he never came back.
Oh, man. You know, I thought it was milk. Milk and eggs.
Either one. Cigarettes, milk. They're not that different in the long run.
No. Still something white.
No, not always. Clove cigarettes are usually brown.
I don't know anything about cigarettes.
Well, maybe you should take up smoking so you can learn.
Take up smoking so I can learn about cigarettes. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Look, it's what all the cool kids do.
You know, Drew would probably be smoking like Virginia Slims or something like that. So which are the long white cigarettes. So.
No, he would absolutely smoke cloves.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know the difference. So
cloves have clove in them. Like it's weird to say, but they smell like Christmas.
I feel like he doesn't like pumpkin spice.
No, not pumpkin spice.
I know, but
Christmas.
Like Christmas, it's like that's more like a peppermint. I don't really know how he feels about peppermint and stuff. But
it's
Christmas.
Also not minty. Like that's why I said like it's honestly hard to explain. But yeah,
if I could easily go, I think I might have some ground clove in my spice cabinet. If I could easily go over and grab it and smell it, I would let you know.
So,
but I can't.
This is a little behind the scenes for everybody. Do you know you uploaded a folder of screenshots from November to the shared audio folder?
Oh boy, did I?
And your desktop.ini file?
You know what? I thought I stopped them from uploading is the thing. Because like I know I occasionally upload, or occasionally like when I go to send things over to it into the folder, because I'll just go into the recent docs, and I'll just move that to trash. I'll just go into like my recent docs or my recent files and pull from there. But sometimes I grab the wrong thing somehow.
That's fair. I just saw it. I'm like, I don't want to know what these screenshots are.
No, they're literally just
from your video, right?
Not even from the videos or anything. They're just generic screenshots that I like. If you hit Windows Shift S, it takes it's the snippet mode.
Yeah, I know. I use it all the time.
It's snippets of like my Steam library and things like that.
I thought maybe you were using it for like screenshots for like thumbnails or something like that.
No.
Well, fine. Never mind then. But yeah, I just saw that. I'm just like, what the fuck? But yeah, it's another Wednesday. We got a show to do, as it were. Maybe we'll see. Rich, what's on the agenda?
On the agenda today was me and Cobb actually started a new board game series with Pandemic Legacy Season 1. We played January in July.
We failed January.
We failed January and July, but that's Pandemic. I don't know how much you've played the original Pandemic, but that's Pandemic. Then I watched Logan this week. I was gonna try to watch Deadpool 2, but I don't know what it was. Saturday was just a weird day for me. I was dead. And then Cobb, you played Final Fantasy VI more than you've ever played before. And then guys, my moon rush for Mario Odyssey is finally over, and we're going to talk about it. It was fun. We're going to talk about it.
Nice. Yeah. So we, like you said, we started Pandemic Legacy on Saturday. We have a 4-person game going, which is the max players you can have for that. This is season 1 also. So for anyone that isn't familiar with Pandemic Legacy, it's essentially the board game Pandemic, but broken up into 12 months. So every month you're basically playing like a new or continued scenario where things are generally piling on top of each other. And these games, just like the Jurassic Park Legacy of Isla Nublar that we talked about previously, you're generally not rewarded for winning.
Yeah.
So in the case of this game, when you win a month, you get to move on to the next one right away, but you also lose funding which basically gets you like help cards in the deck. And when
increased
you,
budget cards and
yeah,
things like that.
which are like literally like airdrop cards and things to help you move around the board or cure things easier.
Yeah.
You lose those points when you win a month, but you get extra when you lose. So in some cases, like losing a month isn't the worst because you only start out with 4 of those points and you either lose or gain 2 every time you win or lose.
Yeah.
So as I said up front, we lost January, both tries. So unlike some legacy games, you actually get 2 tries per month in this one if you fail, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. We were so close our second try though. Like it came down to luck of the draw. Like our first time in January, we I think we ran through the deck or almost ran through the deck. But our second time in January, we were not even halfway through the deck, and it was just bad luck. We had it, we were close, but then we weren't. And it just, man, it was rough.
Yeah, it definitely was. It's also kind of funny. Our first our first go through of January lasted a lot longer. Like we were definitely getting around, and we accomplished far less the first time.
Accomplished far less, but also a little bit more.
Well, we managed to eradicate the one disease. Which it's only eradicated for that one playthrough of that month. But it was just we were just moving around the board, and we kept clearing out zones to stop them from having outbreaks and spreading. But we weren't able to get the cards we needed to actually cure the diseases.
Yeah, we weren't getting too lucky with card draws, and none of us took the research. It was the researcher, so we ended up. Yeah, we ended up not being able to easily swap cards out because the trade rules are very, very pedantic. It is you can only trade the city you're in with somebody else in the city you're in, which is that's obnoxious. I don't believe that's how it is that's how it reads, but that shouldn't be the rule. That shouldn't be the rule. It should be like you have to be in the region. You have to be in the colored region or something like that. It shouldn't be the city you're in with one other person because it makes it next to impossible sometimes to trade.
Yeah, especially when you want in our game, one of the players had the I forget what the scientist, I believe it was, which only needs 4 cards to cure a disease instead of 5.
Yeah.
And we had no good way to get them extra cards. Like, in theory, we could get them maybe 1 at a time, but that's, 1 card every round. And that's and that's if both players can then move to another city that they need in 1 round. You get 4 actions per round. One of those actions would have to be to trade, so then you have 3 actions to move. The only movement you can do that doesn't require actually discarding the city you're trying to go to would be the drive walk ferry option, or the it's not direct flight. I forget the term for it. Shuttle, maybe, where you can go between 2 research stations, assuming you have 2 research stations close by where you're at and where you need to be. So getting around that board is not the easiest unless you're willing to just throw shit away. So it's funny because on our second round, the one virus had mutated and it was impossible to cure. And not like it was just hard to cure. Like it was the rule was actually this disease cannot be cured. You
can't cure. For us, it's yellow. We can't cure the yellow disease. We can stop it from. We can heal each region and treat it, but we can't cure it. We can't remove it from the board entirely. So,
and treating it required 2 actions instead of 1.
It requires 2 actions, which then, for instance, we had a medic. The medic initially is 1 action to cure, so generally they could cure 2 cities at a time, depending on how their turn order goes. But with this one, with this two per 2 turns per treat, they could only do 1, and that sucks. It was like, all right, well then, and I was playing as the transporter, so I was like, or the dispatcher, so I'm like, all right, I got to worry about moving the medic around to make sure the medic can get to where they need to get to for the next turn. And then we got to figure out ways to let them get free movement, basically, while also trying to worry about the other diseases. And we did good at first for the second round, and the medic was doing their job and curing all the yellows while the rest of us were wandering and curing our stuff, or curing the other stuff. But then it was just a few bad pandemic draws after another.
Yeah, that is one thing, like, I don't mind like the very specific rules about trading, because it does add like a layer of complexity to it where you really do have to plan ahead. The thing that kind of bothered me with the rules is the way the pandemic cards or epidemic cards are inserted into the deck. So the rules are like you count out like each like the draw cards or you count out the draw deck, the player deck, into like equal piles. And then you put an epidemic card on top of each of those piles, and then basically shuffle those and restack them. So you're guaranteed to get one of those epidemic cards like every 10 cards.
It was roughly every 6 turns.
Yeah, like
because each round it was the same 2 people, and so the first round it ended up always being me. And I believe Matt.
Erica got them a lot, too.
I think the second round was you and Erica.
I'd actually never got one.
No, all right, so then I think it was me and Matt, and maybe Matt and Erica.
Yeah, but either way, it was just the way that particular rule sets up, you're never getting through the infection deck, so you're literally just getting the same cities over and over again.
Yeah.
And because of the order of operations on that deck, you're basically guaranteed to get fucked in a game at least 3 times.
Yes, but it's been a long time since I played basic ass Pandemic, but that's Pandemic. Like, Pandemic is a difficult game. It is a game made for extreme teamwork. The way they I like how they format it to where it is turn based, where it's like it's not all 4 of you go at once like Jurassic Park. It's each person gets to go, but then it also makes it a little bit more difficult because then you're worried, like, for us, we had, like, our researcher was Matt, who only once every 4 turns could he use his research ability or a scientist ability to only get 4, to be able to cure with 4. You were our researcher the second round, so it was only once a round could you take one card, could you take any card, I think if I traded with you, it could have been any, but, like, the action commodity in this game, or action percentage, the number of actions each person has based on the number of honestly, like, enemies that are on the board, just gets way overwhelming, and it can get way overwhelming super fast depending on how bad of a draw you have. Yeah. Like, that's the thing. The issue is not an issue, but since it is a card game and it's drawing cards, you could just get a bad shuffle. And that's really all that was happening. We were getting bad shuffles. We weren't playing bad. Or, like, our first time, we didn't play bad. Our deck shuffle for our personal cards were just bad. The second round, we weren't playing bad. It was our shuffle for the infect cards were just bad. It was all black and yellow, basically.
Yeah, and so the thing I was getting at before, though, is you're in this situation where, and I get it's a little more realistic as far as like how an epidemic was spread, but the order of operations on the epidemic just seem like the worst way to do it, because you're basically getting you draw the card from the bottom of the deck, which is great because you're getting like a new city into the mix, but you're doing that to then infect that city to the highest possible level, and then immediately basically putting that back into the top section of the deck. So it's like you have a pretty high chance of drawing that card immediately after and having it just spread across the board. And I don't know, it just feels like it takes a little bit of the actual randomness out of the game. And it's very much like this game is made to not win. Like, it's still fun. I had a lot of fun with it because it was very like kind of on the edge of your seat the whole time, because even when we were doing well, stuff kept happening. And like that first round, we were trying, and like everyone was doing everything they could to keep the board as cleared as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But then we got to a point where we realized that no one was getting the cards they needed. We didn't everyone had like 3 of each color, and we had no good way to trade with each other because we were so busy trying to fend off the outbreaks.
Yeah, I think also the first round we were using the travel cards a little too much. We're like, it seemed like every round somebody was using a card to travel with, and I think that might have hurt us.
Honestly, it probably did, and it was all the yellow cards too, which ended up we were doing that because the yellow kept getting pulled, so we kept having to go from where we were back to the yellow area to try and like tone that shit down.
And that was the other thing. We were about to cure yellow when it
mutated.
When it mutated. We were about to cure it when it mutated, and then that was like, well, now we have to worry about this, which means we have to get Erica down there, and then we have to move people around, and it's rough. It is such a rough game. I was thinking about it today, like the different things that I could do or we could do. Like, for instance, if you're running around as a researcher who can trade with anybody, I might use my turns from now on to fly myself to you to take some cards to fly myself to somebody else. But then I was like, well, no, that can't happen because I'd have to be in the city with that person to trade with that person. So then it would be like, if I have cards, I'll just generally fly myself to you and give them to you, and then fly someone else to you, and then you can trade with them or they can trade with you. It's a lot of it's a lot of trial and error for sure. And it is a lot of just on the mark strategizing, and that's why I love that game. I love it so much.
I do think that we have to, when we do like the next round, 2 things that we should probably prioritize are curing things quicker, and also building research stations.
Yeah, we need more research stations. Specifically, we should focus on getting 1 in each region. So that we can easily fly to them, but we might need more. It's also worrisome to build there's only limited research stations you can have up at a time.
Right.
Because there's only limited uses, and then when they get destroyed, I assume you can use that to build elsewhere if they were to get destroyed.
Yeah, you just can't build it in a city that has the level up. So like we have a few cities on the map where
I think it's level 4 or higher. So like Johannesburg, we can't build there.
No, it's like level 2. Once it hits level 2 is when all that stuff gets destroyed.
No, it has to be rioting, which is
level 2.
Was it level 2? Okay.
Yeah. Level 4 or 5, whatever the high one is 5. It's level 5 because it's 2 and 3 are rioting. 4 is something bad, and then I think collapsing, and then 5 is fallen. Once it's fallen, you can't go to the city other than walking in and out of it. And if you're in the city when it's collapsing, you get scars. So that was
and your turn there or something, right?
Yeah, like if you were in the city when it goes into the collapsing state, that is when you get a scar for that. But yeah, like having more research stations, because you have to be at a research station to do a cure. Other than I think red, like we had the upgrade to be able to make red once we have the cards, we can cure it from anywhere, which is cool. So like, yeah, research stations, getting cards together quickly, even if it is just like me kind of like bouncing around where I can to like trade with people, just to like trade with somebody else. And you know, if it looks like one person has 3 cards, just get them the 4th one, get them to a thing. Don't worry, or like, you know what I mean? Like, don't try to always push them onto like Matt or whoever has the scientist role.
We whoever has the most, we have to find a way to get them those cards. Matt is a good one to have because he can do one less. But like, to me, honestly, the generalist and Matt's character are the 2 most interchangeable. The other 3 are 3 that you should kind of always have, which are the medic, the dispatcher, and the researcher. But the generalist and the scientist are kind of, you can mix and match with those.
Right. Yeah. And but yeah, beyond that, I think now that we have we did like a character upgrade. So I want to say we got the upgrade on the medic that lets them actually cure cities connected, or not cure, treat cities connected to them as well.
Yeah, once per turn, they can treat a city connected to them just for free, it seems, not as an action. So they can now do 2 cities in 1 turn in the yellow, which is nice.
Yeah, exactly. So stuff like that's going to help. And frankly, because we lost twice, we now have 8 funding points.
Yeah.
Though Matt pointed out, hopefully in the next module, early on, it has us get more cards or something. Because I think he said there are only 7 funding cards, and we have 8 funding.
I think we now have basically maxed out. Yeah, we have all of the funding. So if we lose again, we have additional funding, which we can't do anything with.
So we can get up to 10 funding. It's 0 is the minimum, 10 is the maximum. Mm-hmm. So if we win February, we'll drop back down to 6. If we lose February the first time, we'll jump up to 10. But there aren't enough cards for 10 possible fund cards. So I'm assuming in one of the things coming up, we'll get another card, because there's in the box there were a bunch of, kind of like in Jurassic Park with the dinosaur boxes. There's a bunch of boxes in there that are that the game will tell us when to open. Yeah. So I'm assuming at some point it'll be hey, pull this card.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's also the game evolves, I think, based on which disease is the one that evolved. So I think I don't want to. I know that there is a potential for a zombie outbreak in this game. I just don't know what path you go for that zombie outbreak.
I did see that too, and I'm curious to see if it's every path leads to that eventually, or if it is something specific where.
I think I have a feeling it might be if blue is the primary, or if yellow is the primary, or black or red, this is what the additional diseases are, or a disease does. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pandemic Legacy is Pandemic in general is great. I love Pandemic.
Yeah, we had only ever played before the Cthulhu version.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually played it with Matt, and we won that one, which, having played this now, which is the cool thing with the Legacy game is, too, you can actually play the basic Pandemic with it. They tell you up front, if no one in your party has ever played before, play the game twice without all these specific pieces to just play regular Pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
But having played this and seen the board now, the Cthulhu one's very similar. It's just instead of viruses and stuff, it's portals to the fucking Dark Realm or whatever it's called. I'm drawing a blank on it right now. Eldritch horrors coming through portals and stuff like that. And instead of having a bunch of different viruses potentially cropping up, you're unlocking different Eldritch horrors. And the final one is Cthulhu. So the purpose of that game is to stop the portals and stop the cultists from summoning at the portals.
Yeah.
Which then create the outbreak scenarios. But
yeah,
it was a fun time. I'm looking forward to continuing on. Hopefully next time we can succeed in February, maybe get to March in the same same round.
Or we fail 4 in a row and get to open up that box that says only open if you fail 4 in a row.
That's true. I am curious. I'm looking forward to seeing the way that the game kind of unfolds with when it wants us to use different things.
Yeah.
Because there's a ton of stickers. Reading through the rule book, there's a ton of spots in the rules that don't have anything. That have not that don't have anything, that have the big spots for stickers to go to change the rules basically.
Yeah.
And then I'm curious to see if, say, that yellow virus, if something happens down the road where we can cure that again, or if it is just always this kind of hindrance where we're just fucked for the next 11 months.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's good times. Moving along, though, how did you feel about Logan? Also an uplifting, fun movie.
Oh, yeah, so uplifting and fun. I liked it. I liked it a lot. It is, again, it's another X-Men movie that breaks the mold of X-Men movies. It was rated R. It had to have been rated R. Which I I also, after watching these past two, Deadpool and Logan, I feel like they need to start leaning on that for some of these superhero movies. Not all of them. Not all of them, for sure. But some of them they need to start leaning on a hard PG-13 to light R rating. Give them freedom of language and stuff like that. Like I I think the times just call for it anymore. I think kids especially and people who watch these movies can really can get into these harder R movies. But Logan itself is after watching through all the X-Men movies back to back to back to back to back, it's refreshing as well to watch it and it be good and it to be interesting. It's still a little confusing. It confuses the timeline more, to be honest, because Professor X at one point says something about somebody being at the Statue of Liberty, and Logan's like, that's a long time, a very long time. So, like, I don't know if, does Professor X know about the Statue of Liberty? Did that ever actually happen in this universe now, post Days of Future Past? Like,
I think Professor X actually is one of the few mutants, along with probably Logan. And this is more like my own kind of like headcanon, sort of.
mm-hmm.
They're two of the only mutants that actually know about like everything. Because like we really don't know how much changed, like post Dark Phoenix. Like we know things have to have changed. There's no way that that X-Men 1 through 3 play out the same way.
Yeah.
But I get the impression at the end of Days of Future Past that like Professor X actually knows all the things that happened.
I don't think so. I never got that impression. I got the impression that Professor X knows who Wolverine is. Professor X knows that eventually Wolverine will come back as the old school Wolverine and not the Wolverine of this current universe. I get that sense that he knew that, but he didn't know. This Professor X didn't know what the old Wolverine had experienced in all of his memories. That's why he even asked him, what was the last thing you remember? Otherwise, like, it wouldn't make sense for them to do that whole memory wipe change if Professor X knew what was going to happen, because then Professor X could have just prepared Logan for it. He could have just went into his brain and been like, here, this is going to happen to you.
But I mean, that's part of messing with, like, future and past and everything. That's why, like, it's just like Pokemon Forever.
Which one was that?
That was the one where Ash goes back in time and has an adventure with Celebi.
Yeah, I've never seen that one.
So he goes back in time, has an adventure with Celebi in the in the forest, and meets this kid who wants to become a Pokemon researcher. Doesn't know at the time that he's in the past. That kid is Professor Oak.
Mm-hmm.
So in the future, you then realize that Professor Oak knew who Ash was the whole time, and that he was specifically saving Pikachu for Ash.
Okay, that's weird. I don't know. That's weird. But yeah, it does confuse it, because it's obviously things change. You're right, because at the end of Days of Future Past, Jean's still alive, Cyclops is still alive, so United never happened, and Last Stand never happened, which was X2, or X2 was United, so United never happened because basically fucking United happened during Apocalypse. So, like, the whole Weapon X program ended during Apocalypse.
Yeah.
So, like, that was in the 80s, right? Yeah.
That
was the 80s.
Maybe would have been the 80s. Instead
of, like, maybe X2 could have kind of happened, but not really, because I think Stryker died in Days of Future Past. I can't 100% remember.
No, Stryker is the one that actually, he picks up Logan after Logan gets blasted into the water.
He picks up Logan. He
dies in X2, though.
He dies in X2 because he gets chained up. But I'm trying to remember if Stryker died in Apocalypse. No, he gets out of the out of there in Apocalypse. But like you see Wolverine get released during Apocalypse by the kids, not just freeing himself like you saw in Origins, which we all know is now just straight up not fucking canon. I mean, it can't. There's no way they can try to stick with that being canon anymore. Even if they wanted it to be, originally it was canon. As soon as they did the first Days of Future Past, there's no way it's canon. but yeah, it's just it muddies up the timeline, which is honestly this timeline probably doesn't fucking exist anymore in the MCU except for in a alternate timeline that we're probably never going to see. And it's not the Deadpool 3 timeline, and it's not the Deadpool timeline as far as we know. It might be. They make reference of it, so maybe it is actually.
I mean, it seems like that's at least. Yeah, it's hard to tell because it's obviously like supposed to be a younger version of Logan in Deadpool 3.
Well,
Because
we already know it's a version of Logan who let down the X-Men in Deadpool 3. Like that's part of the trailers is he's a younger version.
I didn't caught that because I kind of been. I haven't really paid attention to the trailers.
I only watched like the first and second trailer, and it's like this. They say in one of the trailers like this Wolverine let down his X-Men or something like that. Whereas that's not what happens in Logan. In Logan, it's Professor X who killed all the X-Men.
Right.
Because Professor X had a seizure and basically killed a lot of Westchester, New York.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen the trailers. I have not heard them. I've watched both. I want to say two of them, maybe just one of them, just with the sound off.
Mm-hmm.
So like I don't count that as spoiler. Yeah. I just didn't realize it.
It's in the trailer. It's not a spoiler. It's 100% in it. Even if you had not seen the trailer, it's in the trailer. It's not a spoiler. But Logan itself, it's such a good movie. Like it's really crazy to see how good Daphne Keane was as X-23. Seeing as how she didn't speak for half the movie, and how good she was even in that first half of the movie that she didn't. And she was 9, 10 during this movie's filming, something like that. She's 19 now or something like that. She wasn't that old.
Yeah, and no, she was quite young.
She was, yeah, and she portrayed herself as X-23 very well. Like, she was really good.
Yeah, she's 19. Yeah. And that movie was 2017, so she would have been, like, during filming, like 11, because she was born in 05.
Yeah, so, like, you don't often see child actors be that good. But it was crazy to see how well she was being able to just project herself not talking for half the movie. The story that you go through with Logan and the more grief he's feeling, and then learning that basically, or knowing that the adamantium is poisoning him and that's why he's not healing, because his body is healing him from the adamantium poisoning constantly, that it's not able to keep up with healing him as he ages even more.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's like, it's a sad story. The thing that makes Wolverine amazing is also the thing that's killing him, basically.
Which is always, like, that's a thing that they've, like, kind of explored in the comics, too. Like, as he ages, his healing factor deteriorates.
Yeah. The Professor X going senile, it was so sad. Like, because, like, my grandmother, my grandfather's wife, she wasn't
it's usually how grandmothers work.
No, but like she wasn't my dad's mom, but she was married to him, and like my grandfather got divorced and then got married. She was kind of my grandmother, but like she had dementia, she had Alzheimer's, and like watching her deteriorate throughout the last parts of her life. Like there were times she wouldn't even recognize me. She would see me and wouldn't recognize me at all. And like,
yeah, I mean, Erica's grandmother's going through that right now,
and it's sad, and it's to watch like great minds and great people go through that, and that's what you see with Professor X, where he starts to forget where he is, starts to forget what's going on. Like the medicine helps him, but he still like does forget. It's sad to watch that, and unfortunately, like Caliban, who was only in 2 X-Men movies, kind of gets shafted. Caliban's a cool character in general, at least in this movie, he was.
He's fine.
The saddest line in pretty much every X-Men movie was after X-24 stabs Professor X, and then Logan gets up there and he's just telling him, "It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It wasn't me." That is like the saddest line I've heard in these movies.
Because, I remember that scene.
Yeah. It's a tough scene. Yeah, it just overall, it's such a good film. It's such a different film from the other X-Men movies because they do lean on that R rating. And it's such a different film from the X-Men movies because it tells just a singular story. And it does it very well. They didn't do, like, the whole Wolverine origins or even Wolverine Like Wolverine, they did a decent job at telling a solo story, but it was still like extremely broad and open in this story. And it was about more than just Wolverine. This was kind of singular to. It was a lot smaller than even the Wolverine was, and it made it like that much more of a impactful movie. And it also just had a lot of characters that you cared about in it. Professor X, it had Professor X, it had Wolverine. It wasn't just Wolverine and a bunch of randos. It was Wolverine, Professor X, and then they really get you interested and wanting to know about X-23 super quick, and wanting to learn about all the other kids that were part of the X-23 program. I like that it was the X-23 program and not just like one person. It was a bunch of kids. And it also makes you wonder, like, what actually is going on in Canada? Like, why was there actually safe haven? Like, that's something I wish I got to see. Like, you do hear at one point on the radio, it's like your window to get here is this, and you'll have asylum, blah blah blah. But like, what's actually going on up there? Are there other mutants, or is it just Canada being nice? Because Canada's nice.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because they took the idea from the Old Man Logan story and actually made it its own in a really good way, because in that story Logan does kill the X-Men.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing where like the villains realize that they've been kind of going about things wrong the whole time, and they team up and they send different groups of villains to different heroes.
Yeah, it's a great storyline, because it's basically what happens if Spider-Man's villains fight the X-Men. And you have Mysterio, who takes over the mind of Wolverine and makes him think a bunch of other villains are there, which then Wolverine murders all these villains, and it ends up he's murdered all of the X-Men.
Yeah. And just like, the world kind of collapses from there because the villains have taken over.
The villains actually won, because the villains, every superhero is good against their villain, but maybe other superheroes aren't good against a different superhero's villain. And when they realize that, it's such a crazy storyline.
Yeah, and then you take into that and you factor in, like, they put X-23 in it, which she's a modern day character. She is not part of the Old Man Logan.
Yeah, it's weird to say that they modernized a story that is very modern, but they modernized Old Man Logan by bringing it to the present and not putting it into the future. And it's still a little into the future. It's 2029.
Yeah, and it was at least a decade from when it was released.
Yeah, but it's still more modern than what Old Man Logan was.
Old Man Logan wasn't that far in the future. I think it was like 20 years.
20 or 30 years after the events.
Which
is still far enough into the future. But it was also...
Yeah, a lot of the heroes were old people.
Yeah. It was also more of a broadened story with a lot more characters that they can pull from with the Marvel catalog. And not just X-Men. But yeah, Logan is such a good movie. It's such a good movie.
And we got the nice, one nice thing that came out of this with the comics was it did kind of resurface Old Man Logan as a character for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Because like even leading up to it, like that, because this movie was announced when they did Secret Wars, the second Secret Wars, or the third, because I think there was technically, regardless, they did like a take on Old Man Logan as like, because it was an alternate universe. And that Old Man Logan actually ended up in the Marvel universe for a stretch of time because they did kill Wolverine around the time that the movie was like in production and we knew it was coming.
Yeah.
So the version of Wolverine that was in the Marvel comics was actually Old Man Logan for quite a while.
Yeah.
And then at that same time is when they also pushed Lara up front because we didn't have a Wolverine. You had Logan. And then Lara became Wolverine for a while, and she's actually Wolverine again now. There's just two Wolverines. There's Logan Wolverine and Lara Wolverine.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was one of the few times where the movies actually helped propel things that were interesting in the comics. Versus a lot of times you see the movies force changes into the comics that aren't necessarily all that interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, But yeah, that's a good one. Are you going to try and
It is.
watch Deadpool 2 sometime during the week before you see Deadpool 3 this weekend?
Right now, because I talked to my buddy who I was supposed to go see Deadpool 3 with this weekend. I think he forgot. Because that's just how he is. So he's like, I got to talk to the girlfriend, figure out our time, because I can't drive out to go see it with him, which means he has to come out here and pick my ass up.
Right.
So I don't actually know if I'm going to be seeing Deadpool 3, but I will try to watch Deadpool 2 before I go see Deadpool 3 if I go see it this weekend.
Just in case.
Yeah, like my plan currently is maybe Friday night. I have some video editing due tonight, and then Friday night after work I have some recording and editing to do, and then maybe to watch Deadpool 2 Friday night, and free up Saturday throughout the day to go see the movie, and sometime do a stream to build Legos. I got to figure out what time I'm going to see the movie before I figure out a time that I'm going to be building Legos on stream.
Right. Which makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, ranking, honestly, I think this would actually go number 1 full on. So last week I said that Deadpool is the best X-Men movie, but with a asterisk because it's a entirely different kind of movie. I wouldn't put that asterisk on this. I think this would be the best X-Men movie.
Okay. Yeah, I put Logan above it on my little chart and replaced and just bumped Deadpool down.
Yeah. I think that's what that's where I'm at. I think Logan, it's just such a different but really good kind of movie. And I'm excited to finally get into I've seen Deadpool 2. Don't really remember a lot of it, but I've seen it. But I am excited, even though I hear it's not good. I'm excited to watch Dark Phoenix. I'm excited to watch New Mutants, and I'm excited to see movies I've not seen before. And
right, because you haven't seen those at all yet.
Right, and we're coming up to them, which is exciting.
Yeah, I remember Dark Phoenix. It's not even so much that it was bad; it was just kind of boring.
One of the problems with Dark Phoenix is they wanted to use the Skrull, and they couldn't because Marvel literally used the Skrull 6 months prior. And so they used the Skrull, but they didn't call them the Skrull. I remember that. They used shape-shifting aliens.
Right. Honestly, I forgot all about the aliens in that. I just remember it was a very disjointed story, and more disjointed even than Apocalypse was, and incredibly fucking boring.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows? Years later, maybe you will have a different opinion on it.
We'll see. It's still 2 weeks away, but we'll see. And then, which means my X-Men movie marathon is only 3 weeks. Has only 3 weeks left of it.
Are you going to do an MCU marathon after?
No. I have been wanting to be honest, I have been wanting to rewatch the MCU, but I don't want to rewatch it as for this as an analysis of movies, just because we've talked about all of them enough.
Yeah, no, I mean you're not wrong.
We don't need to talk about them again.
Do you have another movie series that you do want to jump into at some point? So you do this at least once a year. You kind of do these watch a movie once a week sort of binges.
Yeah. To be honest, kind of want to watch the Transformers series.
Oh, okay. To talk about a fucking series with some peaks and valleys.
Exactly. The first one was good. Second and third were all right. The first one was good. I think the second one was all right. The third one was good. Age of Extinction, I barely remember. And then I've never seen The Last Night. I've never seen Bumblebee. And Rise of the Beasts is coming out soon, or came out last year. And I think there's a new one coming out soon.
I think you're right.
Transformers 1, which is a prequel to Transformers.
Yeah, Bumblebee is good. I actually really enjoyed that one. The first one was good for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
It had a lot of good stuff in it.
Yeah.
I did not care for the second one, and I feel like they just didn't know what they were doing with the third one.
Yeah.
They were trying to make what's his face too important, and frankly, that kid's just not a great actor, Shia LaBeouf.
For which one? For 2 or 3?
In 3, they tried to make him too important.
Shia LaBeouf wasn't in 3.
Yeah, he was.
Was he?
Yeah.
Megan Fox wasn't in 3. Right.
They replaced her with a British model.
Yeah.
And then I only saw the first Mark Wahlberg movie and literally don't remember anything about it.
I think he was only in the one. He was only in. Oh no, was he in Rise of the Beasts? Or no, not Rise of the Beasts. Yeah, Rise of the Beasts. I don't remember. But yeah,
I,
like I've been thinking of that. I've been thinking of doing Transformers. But I don't.
I'm trying to remember all the movies. So yeah, you had 1, 2, and so it was 1, Revenge of the Fallen. Revenge of the Fallen, I didn't like at all. Like I thought it was just, Dark of the Moon. Like I said, they just didn't know what to do. Age of Extinction was the one with Mark Wahlberg, and then he was also in The Last Night. He was not in Bumblebee, but like again, Bumblebee, I actually had a good time with. That was with Haley Steinfeld and John Cena.
Yeah.
And then Rise of the Beast, was that okay? That's the one that was last year. Does not have Mark Wahlberg in it, so no Marky Mark in that one.
And then, looks like they're all on Paramount.
I was gonna say they're definitely all on something together.
Yeah.
And frankly, like if you're going to do the movies, you also have to watch the 1986 Transformers the movie.
I've never seen it, and I want to.
I'm just curious if you'll cry when a certain character dies.
I will cry when Optimus Prime dies.
All because the toy manufacturer didn't have any more ideas for Optimus, so they had to replace him with Rodimus Prime.
Yeah. There was actually a video that I saw online where there was a character it was on Dropout. It was actually. There was a character in the G.I. Joe movie that was supposed to die, but because of the such severe negative reaction that the world gave to Optimus Prime dying in that 80s movie, they decided to take that character's death out they didn't like just take out that scene. They didn't like reanimate it to where he doesn't get shot in the heart. He still gets stabbed or shot in the heart or whatever and carted off screen. But then just off screen you hear somebody say, so and so is in a coma after he gets killed.
Yeah.
And then at the very end of the movie it's so and so just woke up. And that's it. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, that sounds very familiar. But anyway, anything else you want to say about Logan?
No.
All right.
So it was Duke from the G.I. Joe movie in 1987 was supposed to be killed. And I'm going to just download this image and I'm going to send it to you. And I know this is great audio medium, but he just gets a snake through the heart, basically. A poisonous snake through the heart. That just look up G.I. Joe 1987 Duke death, and you'll see. And it's like a snake through the heart. He gets impaled through the heart. And it's just like, oh no, he's in a coma. And then it's, oh, he just woke up because they didn't want to actually kill him because they got such a bad reception of Optimus Prime dying. Gotta love Hasbro.
Yep. I mean, that's how that stuff went. And yeah, I'm looking at the thing now.
Yeah.
It is very much we need to sell toys, so we need to retire, quote unquote, the old ones.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure the very beginning of they did the 2 Transformers movies, G.I. Joe movies in the late 2000s. It was like 2008 and 2010 or something like that.
Yeah.
The first one actually wasn't bad with Channing Tatum and
it was good. The first one was good. The second one wasn't terrible. But it really like, I don't know. It didn't even like mock itself at that point. It was just, it tried to be a little too serious.
Yeah, like the first one they had fun with it. The second one they didn't.
Yeah, and Channing Tatum dies in the beginning of it.
Yeah, so. And he was Duke.
Yeah.
And yeah, they kill him like immediately. I'm like, man, what are you guys doing? You
need Channing Tatum.
Like him and Marlon Wayans were actually like part of the interesting like dynamic of that movie.
Yeah.
And then I want to say the sequel they ended up adding like Bruce Willis and The Rock or something like that.
I don't remember. Or The Rock wouldn't surprise. It doesn't surprise me that The Rock was in it. I don't know about Bruce Willis.
Yeah, G.I. Joe Retaliation. Yeah, Bruce Willis and The Rock were in it.
I wonder how many movies I can just watch in general that are based off Hasbro toys. I could do just a Hasbro Toys movie marathon. Do Transformers, do G.I. Joe, do Barbie. I haven't seen Barbie yet.
I mean, there's also, you could just do toy-based stuff, too, because there's also, like, Masters of the Universe. He-Man stuff.
He-Man. I could even do, like, fucking Battleship.
Oh yeah, Ouija.
Was there a Ouija movie?
There were 4 of them.
Oh God, no. That's not based on the toy though. That is a horror movie based around the toy, not on like the toy lore or whatever. If that makes sense. So I'm looking for movies based on the lore of the toy or video or board game or whatever.
I mean that's fair.
Yeah.
But yeah. Do you want to move along?
Yeah, tell us about Final Fantasy VI. Which is that's the one with like Terra and Cecil, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I played a lot of that when I was younger when it first came out as anthology.
Oh wait, no,
right?
I'm sorry. Cecil is 4.
Cecil's 4.
Terra
Okay.
is 6.
Okay. I think I played a little bit of it then with Terra. I think that's the one you start off in the mech suits, right?
Yeah, you start off in the Magitech armor with Terra and Biggs and Wedge. And then you end up, as you get new characters very early on, you end up on like a split like story path where you have to like jump between characters for a while before they kind of come back together.
Yeah.
And yeah, this game was released in Final Fantasy Anthologies on the PlayStation along with Final Fantasy V. Mm-hmm. And it was originally released in the US as Final Fantasy III on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I have started this game a bunch of times. The furthest I ever got, within the first couple of hours, there's a portion where you're at a base with like the rebels essentially, and it's Terra Edgar, who is the king of one of the nations, who is allies with the rebels. His brother Locke, the thief dude, and then like the leader of the rebels. And the base gets discovered, and you have to escape. So Locke goes in one direction to try and like scout out the city that's nearby, while the rest of them all have to take like a river rapid, because they have to go back to where the game started, essentially, because they have to go find the Esper that kind of triggered Terra's powers.
Yeah.
And during that, you then you lose Locke's brother, whose name is like Sabin or Sabine, something like that. Mm-hmm. So at that point in the game, you end up on 3 different paths. You have a choice between following Locke, following Sabin, or following Terra's group. And you have to do all 3 of them, but you get to pick like which order you do them in. And in the past, I've done Locke and Sabin, and I've always just fallen off during that. Particularly during Sabin's one, you get to a point where you get the feral kid on like the plains. His name is Gao.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I've always fallen off. And it has nothing to do with that character. It's just, for one reason or another, I just stop playing and never go back. And then by the time I do go back, it's on a different platform. So it's not like I can pick up where I left off. I literally have to just start a new game. But I started playing it over the weekend, I want to say. It was either end of last week or over this weekend. And I am much further than I've ever gotten. I'm like 20-ish hours in. I am at the point where I have an airship, but I don't have free use of an airship.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this whole, I thought it was actually pretty cool. There's this opera scene where you have to, your one character apparently looks like a famous opera singer. So she has to pretend to be one so that she can get kidnapped by this sky pirate. And you actually have to go through and pick the right options for the song, or you fail and you have to do it over, but you only get 4 chances. So if you fuck up 4 times, I assume it's game over and you have to reload. Mm-hmm. So if you don't read the script and kind of like learn the gist of it, you're gonna fail. And there's a few other like button presses to make along the way, and this might be unique for just the new Pixel remaster. It actually has like music, like vocals for the opera, which I thought was neat. They're not the clearest, but it's kind of cool to see like a Super Nintendo game with actual vocals coming out of it.
Yeah.
And I would love to. I actually want to find out if that was part of the original like cartridge, or if it was something they added in for the Pixel remasters. Other than that, though, like I finally am starting to see why people like hold the game in such high regard. I haven't hit the big thing that happens. Like I know at some point, Kefka becomes like an actual villain. So far, he's just kind of been like a minor annoyance and destroys the world or something. Like I know the big thing in that game is the bad guy actually wins at some point, and the rest of the game is basically revenge.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how, when, or why that happens. but I'm starting to see like why people are like attached to these characters and everything, which is cool. And it does some stuff that I didn't expect, because like I've played Final Fantasy IV and then 7 through at least a little bit of 16. So I dabbled with 1, 2, and 3 and just could never get into those. And I've never actually tried 5. So like I didn't know in this one that at a certain point everyone gets magic. I actually thought it was more job-based, where everyone just had their unique skills that they could do. So like Edgar can use tools in battle. So he's one of the first things he has like an auto crossbow that is awesome and actually attacks everybody on the field. Or Sabin is the one that has the like the martial arts abilities, where you actually have to input like button prompts in order to do his special moves, which is kind of like is it Zell from Final Fantasy VIII? I think it's Zell in Final Fantasy VIII. You actually do something similar to do his limit break moves. And Sabin is the one that can body slam a train. Like that's the big meme thing. I don't know if you remember that or have ever seen that.
Yeah.
But yeah, at a certain point, once you unlock espers as like a thing you can use in battle, you can actually assign them to everybody. Kind of like in Final Fantasy VII, where like once you get materia for summons, they can just go to anyone, and it actually unlocks those people to have magic. Just not everybody gets the same types of magic. So it's not like a thing where I can just have everyone loaded up with fire. Fire is specific to like the character, essentially.
That's cool.
And I still have to test it out, but I'm curious if I remove an Esper, if that character loses the ability to use magic. And like so far, at least, so I actually just unlocked Shiva and Ifrit, which was neat. I actually had to fight them, which I didn't expect. I didn't realize it was Shiva and Ifrit either, because they weren't like bigger or anything. But like there's these like two things like basically in like a dumpster, and I go up to interact with them and they attack me, and you have to fight them. But the only thing that works against them is essentially their opposing element. So ice on Ifrit and fire on Shiva. So thankfully I had actually equipped the espers at that point, because I forgot to do it for a little while and had magic for everybody, or that would have been a really fucking difficult battle. And then once you beat them, they're just like, oh, you have esper power. I guess you're not bad guys. Sorry, we will give you our powers too.
Nice.
Yeah, because it turns out that the espers live in like an alternate realm. They can come back and forth. And then when they die, they can basically turn themselves into crystals that like hold all of their power. And if they decide to do that, like a person can use that power. And the like evil empire in the game appears to not understand that, and they're just siphoning the life force out of living espers to power like the Magitech armors and stuff. So there's like this, you're trying to stop them from doing that to help the espers and to free the world, essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been cool so far. I'm enjoying it. I honestly don't know how much game is left. And that's, it's an RPG, but it's also like a 90s RPG, so it's not a 200-hour game.
Yeah.
But it might still be like, 40, 50 hours.
Yeah, which, I mean, look, I'm getting ready, I'm getting ready to play Star Ocean Second Story R, which is the remake of Star Ocean Second Story, which I just looked up on how long to beat. The original game was 40 hours. The remake is only 26 hours for main story. Yeah, so I don't know if maybe like load time or something cut that down, or if they straight up cut out content, but full on it's just faster to beat the game. But yeah, 90s RPGs aren't that long.
No, and like some of them get a little bit longer, but yeah, they're not that long for sure. And yeah, I'm curious to see kind of where this goes. After this, I might actually grab like Final Fantasy V, just because I've never played that one at all.
You should just beat Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
I can here's the thing: I can play these on the Steam Deck, laying on the couch while we're watching TV.
Yeah, but you should just beat Rebirth, because you're never gonna beat it otherwise.
I mean, I'll get to it eventually. Like I play it now and then. It's just I'm not going to take over the television when like Erica is also trying to watch it. And yeah, So the only time I can really do it is like weekend mornings if I'm up before her, or if we're just like not really watching anything.
Yeah.
Because like, and the thing is like she's normally like, yeah, no, go ahead, play like whatever. But I also just feel a little bad like sitting there like playing for like 3 or 4 hours and her just not being able to watch anything.
She's got a laptop, a tablet, a cell phone. She
Yeah.
wanted to watch something. She could watch it. She could find a way.
I also, it's weird. I don't like playing console games on weeknights.
You can also just say you don't want to play it.
I do, though.
No, you don't.
That's
you
the
don't.
problem.
That's the. I think you don't. You don't want to admit you don't want to play it.
No, because it's not just that game either. There's like 4 other console games I really want to play, and that I own. And like I've been looking at them, I'm like, I could just buy this game on Steam and play it on my Steam Deck instead.
I mean, you could. You absolutely could. I think when it comes to Final Fantasy VII, though, I feel like you just don't want to play it. I just look. The ending sucks. It really does.
I mean, that's fine, but you had issues with it that I did not have. I had none of the problems you had with it. I get weird with actual console games because I feel like if I'm going to play a game like that, I need to have like an extended period of time to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't have that time on weeknights because I go to bed early because I have to be up so fucking early for work.
Just stay up late. Just stay up late. It's fine.
It's not though, because then I have to drive 2 hours and I'm falling fucking asleep behind the wheel.
That's fine. Get a Tesla that'll auto drive out there for you.
I don't know that I would even trust one of those on 76.
No.
But yeah, like honestly, like I guarantee, like had this game released like on like PC and I could have just bought it on Steam instead, I probably would have beat it already because I could just sit on the couch and play it on the Steam Deck. Because for whatever reason, there's no difference between putting it to sleep on the fucking PlayStation 5 and putting it to sleep on the Steam Deck. Like I save regardless. But for some reason, like handhelds, like the Switch is the same way. Hitting that power button on the Switch or the Steam Deck and just putting it back in its dock or whatever just feels like a different thing than doing it on the actual console. And I don't know why.
There's a reason most of the games I buy are on PC now. Like, besides the fact that it's just cheaper. Like, the last game I bought for console. I mean, I guess technically Nintendo World Championship NES Edition, but I bought that for the collectibles. That's it. I didn't buy it for the fucking game. Was Final Fantasy.
Right.
Because it was only available on console. If it would have been available on PC, I probably just would have bought it on PC.
Yeah, and it's funny, like it's not like I'm playing on PC. Like I'm just playing on the Steam Deck.
You're playing on PC. But that's the thing. You're playing on PC. There was a long time that I refused to buy games that were available on multiple consoles if it were available on Steam, on not Steam, on Switch, on anything besides Switch. Because it's like, well, it's compact and it's portable. And I can play it anywhere I go.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just for whatever reason, like sitting down and like turning on like the Xbox or the PlayStation, if I'm only going to play for an hour and a half, just doesn't seem like worth the effort.
Yeah, I mean, if I had a Steam Deck, I'd be playing a lot more other games, a lot of other games more often that are on my Steam.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I will literally pick up my Switch or the Steam Deck and play a game for like 20 minutes. Like if that's all I have, like I'll run around for like 20 minutes doing like almost nothing because what are you really accomplishing in 20 minutes? But like those same 20 minutes, I won't like turn on the TV and then turn on the Xbox, even though like the game. In a lot of cases, like if I'm doing it regularly, the games are just suspended. It's not like it's this long time to get those things up and running.
Yeah.
It's just this weird like mental thing where I only want to sit down and play it on the TV if I'm going to be able to play for like 3, 4, 5 hours.
Yeah. I totally forgot. I played a new game this past week.
Well, too bad. It's not on the agenda, so we're not talking about it. But yeah, Final Fantasy VI is actually a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to keep playing it, and probably in another week or two, I will talk about it again, because I will hopefully have beaten it and have more thoughts on whether or not I think it is as good as people make it out to be, or if Final Fantasy IV is still my preferred classic Final Fantasy.
Nice.
Yeah. Now you finally fucking finished Super Mario Odyssey.
So the Moon Rush is finally over. If anybody who's here who has been living under a rock and hasn't been listening to me talk about my stream the past few weeks, 2 months, basically. No, month and a half. I did a special stream event to celebrate my 3-year stream anniversary, which I called a Moon Rush. And the reason I did this instead of like a subathon is I'm old and I work a full-time job. I cannot stream for multiple hours or days on end, for like 24 hours straight or for multiple days on end. I can't do that. I can't possibly do that.
Yet you're over here telling me to just stay up late and get in car accidents, man.
Look, I'm telling you to stay up till like 11 or 12. I'm not telling you to stay like look, I don't go to bed till 1:30. I also work from home and don't get out of bed till 8:30 when I'm supposed to clock in at 8. But my company doesn't care, or at least my boss doesn't care. I'm not telling you to be irresponsible. I'm just telling you to stay up a little bit later. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll just drink a cup of coffee and you'll be good.
Coffee doesn't actually wake me up.
Might have ADHD.
I mean, honestly, I might. I also, when I was younger, I used to get so much caffeine that I think I just like lost any.
Yeah.
I got such a tolerance to it that it doesn't do anything. Because we used to just go to the diner and just drink coffee all fucking night.
I used to drink nothing but soda for like 4 years straight.
The amount of nights that we spent 5 hours sitting at a diner drinking nothing but coffee, like, yeah, I totally fucked myself when it comes to caffeine and regular sleep schedules.
Yeah,
that's why I get so tired now and need to go to bed early.
Maybe still making up on all that sleep. So what I did for this event was instead of subs and bits that came to me from the viewers, increasing the amount of time I played, it increased the total number of power moons I had to get in Mario Odyssey. There was a total of, technically there's more, but there was a total of 999 power moons that the game tracks. That's tracking is what it caps at 999, but you can technically, from what I read, you can technically buy 100 moons in each region. So there's like 20-something hundred moons or something like that. I don't really know. 860 moons are obtainable by gathering them throughout the game, and then another 120, 140, something like that moons are purchase only. And that's how you reach the 999. So through the event, 925 moons were purchased from you guys, either through bits, subs, new followers, things like that, new subscribers on YouTube, stuff like that. 925 total. So this weekend I finalized that by getting the last of the hardest moons in the game, and then buying the other 10. I started the day only needing to get, what was it, 13 moons or something. No, like 20 moons total.
So
I needed to
you got like the dark side and the darker side moons?
Yes.
Nice. Good job.
I'm gonna tell you, like, it was frustrating. It was frustrating. There was one moon I spent probably about an hour and a half, and I died over 60 times trying to get.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I started that run at 1,200 coins, and I ended that run at 600 coins. So it's 10 coins per death. So it's about 60 deaths, give or take.
Oh, I didn't. I forgot that was a thing
yeah.
in that game because I haven't played it since 2017.
Well, it's inconsequential because you get so many coins at any point in time. Like when you die, you lose the coins, but depending on where you die, you can just go pick them back up, and it doesn't really matter. But like if you're running around with 1,200 coins, you're not going to pay attention that you lost 10. So I ended up actually having to switch my controller. It seemed to be that my Pro controller has some input lag in it.
Really?
Yeah. And like I tested it a million times, and I was on stream. And like it's very minor and minimal input lag that I had managed to somehow figure out while playing the game. I don't know if it was my controller combined with the capture card playing onto the PC, or if it's just the controller or what. But there's a level in the dark side where earlier on in the game, there's a level where you have to go from one side of the map to the other, crossing a bunch of breakable blocks. These blocks are getting hit by bullet bills that are breaking every time a bullet bill hits them. Once you reach the end, you grab a key, and a star shows up, or a power moon star shows up on the other side. You then have to turn around and run back. But if you drop down, there's a platform that you can drop down on, and another giant bullet bill starts coming at you that you can then put your hat on and go all the way to the other end and find a hidden moon, as well as the moon that you got the key for. Well, the dark side of the moons, there are 3 areas that are remakes of previous areas, just without Cappy.
Oh.
So you have to do stuff without Cappy. And that breakable roadway one was one of them. So you had to go to the one end, grab the key, drop down, and make some properly timed jumps. That these blocks, when I tell you they were so properly spaced, like I stress, so properly spaced, you needed pinpoint timing on your jumps to get from the very tip of the box to the very tip of the box, to move like a step or two, to jump off the very tip of the box to hit. Like, they are so properly timed. I couldn't do it with my Pro Controller. I could not. And like, I even at one point just grabbed the camera, pointed it at my Pro Controller, hit A. Like, I would hit A and release it before Mario even jumped. Like, my finger was A, let go, and all the way standing up before Mario even started his jump.
So I forget, do you still use that like HDMI capture thing, or do you have like a real capture thing now? You have like an Elgato, right?
I have an Elgato real capture card, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I couldn't remember because I know you had that other thing for a while.
Yeah, I had that other thing for a while, the Shadowcast, but no, this was. I have an Elgato. Like, there shouldn't be much, if any, input lag. And it was very bad. It was very bad. And I've played other games on the Elgato, and I don't notice input lag in my Bloodborne playthrough or anything else.
Right.
So it had to have been my controller. I don't know what it was. Maybe I've hit the A button too many times on that controller, and it's just starting to wear down or something like that.
Possible.
But I ended up switching out with my Joy-Con dock, the controller, the 2 Joy-Cons.
Oh yeah,
whatever that's called. Got it in like 3 tries.
Nice. Hey, at least you got it.
When I got done with that one, I marked it. I have to make a clip of it, but I was just like, fuck this one, fuck it all to hell. I fucking hate. Like, I was done with it. It sucked. It took me so long. And then the other moon that was 2 of the last 3 moons I needed to get on the dark side. So the 3 regions you go into that are rehashes of old regions. There's that one with the bullet bills. There's another one where it's there's invisible platforms that piranha plants will spit like acid, quote acid, onto, and you have to jump over the acid. And with the normal playthrough, if you throw Cappy, he clears the acid. You throw him over. So this time you have to be jumping over the acid, and there's only 7. You can only take 3 damage and whatnot. Which I realize now, to make that one easier, I could have gotten the heart that would have given me 6 lives, or 6 hits. And then at the very end, there's 3 giant piranha plants that you have to kill in order to unlock the last moon. So that one, it took me a few tries. But I got it, and it was the easiest one. Then there was the bullet bill one, which took me forever, and then the last one was the one I was actually dreading the most. Is the original mode? It's you hit a POW block or an exclamation button, and you jump onto a mini bike, and you have to ride the mini bike along a road that counts down a timer and will eventually disappear. And if you get to the next section, you hit that button, and then there's like jumping that you do with the mini bike to get to the end. And then there's a next section that has enemies on it that are shooting cannons at you. And in that third section is like a jump that's all breakaway as you're making these jumps to grab the secret, quote, secret moon, and then try to get to the last moon, which is just getting through the whole level. Well, in the remake, or not in the remake, but in the redo, without Cappy, you have to just make these runs and jumps yourself. There's no cart, there's no Cappy, there's no like extra special throw. You're doing long jumps and runs and rolls and dives in proper timing and in a good sequence to make it all the way through. And if you miss any of these jumps, you have to start from the beginning. It took me an hour the first time I did this, which I did it a few weeks ago, to get the first moon, and I didn't even go for the bonus moon because once I got to the third part, to the third button, right? Third button, one, two, yeah, third button. I was like, if I fail, I have to do this all over again, and I don't want to do that. So I am just going to get the main moon because I was doing it because somebody challenged me to do a hard moon. So I just went to the main moon and I was like, I'll come back to this one later. That one took me like 5 tries with the other controllers, with the Joy-Cons. So there definitely was some sort of input lag issue or something, or maybe I just got that much better. But I don't know. The dark side, to be honest, was a little. It was fun, but half the moons are portrait moons, which was annoying. And so what I ended up doing is going to the dark side and then looking at all the portraits, because you have to look at the portrait to activate being able to get the moon. And then I just Googled the locations of all the moons, because I didn't really care to actually try to study these portraits and figure out where they all were. Because I don't know if you remember, there were portraits you see in each world that is connected to a different world that you then had to go to a certain spot and like ground pound on to get the moon to pop out. And it would count the moon as a moon for the world that the portrait was on, and not as a moon for the world that the moon was on. So there were times where I'd be in a world and it's like you got one moon left and it's a portrait, but like I'm in Bowser's castle and I have to go to the lake world in order to get it. I'm like, this is stupid. This is annoying. It should count as a moon for the lake world and not a moon for Bowser's world. So
yeah,
but like 11 of them were just do that. 11 or 12. I think there was like 24 moons. And I think 12 of them were just the portraits. 6 of them were Yoshi moons, which is just it's redoing previously done levels again, but as Yoshi and eating all of the berries. And as you eat all the berries, once you fill up his meter, you get a power moon, and then you'd fill up his meter again, you get another power moon, and you're done. But yeah, the Yoshis were all right. They weren't the easiest, but they also they were a little annoying sometimes. But
is Yoshi in the base part of the game? I don't remember Yoshi at all.
Yoshi, you don't get to use or do anything with Yoshi until you get to Mushroom Kingdom, and he's only in Mushroom Kingdom.
Okay, yeah, I don't remember it at all.
Yeah, it's a really you don't do Mushroom Kingdom until you beat the game, so it really depends on how much you did after you beat the game.
I remember running around for a while there, but I honestly, it's been so long at this point, I just don't remember.
Yeah, and then I did the darker side, which the darker side has just one, well, technically 3 moons, but it's a single triple moon. It is just a platforming area. It is the hardest platforming area in the game. From beginning to end, there's no checkpoints, so you have to do it all flawlessly to get there from beginning to end. And it reaches a gamut of pretty much everything you've done. It's not particularly hard, but it can be a little tedious or frustrating or annoying. There's one section where you go into a warp pipe, you come out the other end, and you enter into a region where you stand on a platform and it starts moving, but it's in a like a fogged up area. So, and there's a bomb in the middle of it, and you can set the bomb off, which will then do a ring around you. You jump over that ring, but as this platform is moving, everywhere it goes, there's other bombs that it's going to be setting off. So you're going to have to be constantly jumping over these other rings the entire time it's moving. Or you could avoid from hitting the bomb and just use Cappy to hit the enemies that come out at you. But if you hit the bomb, you then have to deal with the bomb stuff. I honestly, at one point, somebody in chat had mentioned that there is a whole sequence skip for that sequence. And I didn't want to have to keep doing it. So I did the sequence skip, which felt good to be able to do. And it's not a hard sequence skip. And Nintendo knows about it, and they could have patched it out, but they didn't. So, I think they intended it to be in the game. But you at one point, you get one of the glider enemies, you throw your cap on him, and then you start gliding. And if you shake your controller at the right time when you're in there's like a tornado, he'll fly up higher than he would if you don't shake your controller. And then you can just continue to shake your controller as you fly forward until you reach the final section of the game. Because what it is, you go into the warp pipe, you do a couple of things, you come out of the warp pipe, and you hit the final area, which is replaying the Bowser levels again. As you running around as Bowser. So I was like, I was already going after the darker side for a while. And I was just like, it's not that I'm not having. I thought the darker side was extremely fun. It was interesting to like figure out where to go and what to do. But I was just like, I am done. I want to finish this level. It's been an hour and a half. I just want to move on. So I did the exploit and I did the Bowser stuff, and then you get to see the second ending of the game. Technically, it's the second ending of the game where you climb up the tower. It's the Tower of New Donk City. You make your way up, and Cappy is like, "Man, what an adventure we had," and blah blah blah, and this and that, and he talks to you about this adventure that you guys had. And then
I actually didn't know until you had talked about it initially, that there were more than one. There was more than one ending to.
I mean, it's not technically an ending because, like, the credits don't roll after you get it done, but it's considered an extra ending because it's post game and it's like a wrap up of your characters like congratulating each other, and then there's also like a hidden and a secret boss which you don't get any power moons from, but once you get all of the power moons, you then fight a harder version of the final Bowser fight, and it's supposed to be a harder version of the entire end of the game, which is the final Bowser fight and all of the stuff that's playing as Bowser, which by doing that, you get a postcard that you can take a screenshot of. But I skipped the credits, so I didn't get the postcard. Because I was like, we already watched credits. I'm not watching the credits again.
Valid.
Yeah, but when you get that secret Bowser one is from collecting all the moons, not getting all 999. It's just from collecting all of the moons around the world, not buying the last bits. So I did that after I did the darker side because most people would have done the darker side as soon as they unlocked it and then went back to the rest of the moons. I wanted to do the darker side as the last moon I got for the event, but once it came down to I just had to buy the rest of the moons, I was like, let me just do the darker side, have all the moons, fight the secret boss, and then buy the last of them. And nice. So it was good. It was fun. Then to buy the moons, you need 100 coins per moon. I needed about 80. For the event, I only needed about 10 more. I think I was at 917, and I needed 925. So technically, I only needed to get 800 more coins, but I spent an hour talking to chat, running the coin grind to get the total number of coins I needed in order to buy all the moons, to give chat more time to make me have to do all the moons at the end of the game. I even it was initially supposed to cost like 1,500 bits from one person or 1,000 bits from two people each. I turned around and was like, if in total we can get 1,000 bits, I'll get all the moons. And then at one point, nearing the very end, I was like, guys, if we can just do 500 bits, I'll get all the moons. We didn't get any bits. It's fine. I ended with 925 moons. Or 927. I went and just bought the last 10. And I was like, great. The event's over, and I talked about how fun it was, and it made me happy sad, because I finally got all the moons in a Mario game. I've never done that before.
And that game had a lot compared to a lot of the others.
Compared to all of the others, which all of them only have 120 each.
Is every other game just 120? I thought it was, but I wasn't sure.
That's what I've seen online. All the other games are 120 each only, and this one was at 999. And so it was just like, well, I talked to everyone. I was like, guys, I had a great time. This is a fun event. It was a resounding success, and blah blah blah. And I'm happy, sad about it, and whatever. Unfortunately, you guys don't get to see the very ending. So I saved. I'm gonna write out here, and I'm gonna get to see a secret ending.
I was gonna say, did you then go buy the rest of the moons to see it?
Yeah. I only had fucking 80 more moons to buy. I
had coins already, so why not, right?
I had the coins already. So if it wasn't if I had ended at anything lower than 850 moons, I wouldn't have done this. But because I only needed to buy the last of the moons, I was like, yeah, I'm fucking doing it. Of course. It
would have been what, 73 moons you had to buy?
Yeah, well, it was about 70-something moons, which I already had the 8,000 coins I needed to buy all the moons I needed in total. Because it was 80, I think it was 83 moons or something like that I needed in total. And I already had, I had 8,500 coins. So I had them all, so I did it. And what happens is after you beat the game, if you get all 999 coins that the game tracks, or 999 moons that the game tracks, Cappy is like, we got all the moons, Mario. There's something special for you over at the Mushroom Kingdom. So you go to the Mushroom Kingdom, and on top of Peach's castle is a top hat. Like, the castle is wearing a top hat. You get on top of the castle, and you get on top of the top hat itself, and there's like a little pin that you can throw Cappy onto, and he spins. And if you hold him on there and it spins long enough, you hear the original Mario end of level music with fireworks going off.
Nice.
So
that's fun.
You can see it everywhere online. I am going to try to make some sort of YouTube video about this and about like some of the harder parts of it. Just like a recap video, and I did record me doing that. So
so you have that video.
I will put that at the end of the video, if and when I ever do make this video. But it was like, and in the video, I'm like, guys, I know I edged you. I totally edged you. You didn't get to see the final, but you're gonna get to see it here. And I go do it, and it's a really cool like little thing that they do for you. But it was, I felt good being able to get these moons, because I never thought I'd be able to do some of these. I'm not a speedrunner. I'm not someone who tries to do speedrun strats. I'm not someone who tries to do like fancy footwork things. And even watching people play this game online to see like some of the stuff they do, like trying to learn different sequence skips in Bowser in the darker side and see what some of the sequence skips are. One of them I was like, this is more difficult and takes longer than just doing the whole sequence. Why would you do it this way?
Why not, right?
Yeah, like people, there's a sequence where like you can climb up a side of like a building. You can climb up it, and there's some coins up top, and that's the only. And so that's where I'm like, a lot of these sequence skips they built into the game, because otherwise, why would you have coins up there? If you didn't want people to get up there, why would you have coins up there? But like, to get up there and get those coins, you have to get up on top of a block. You have to. You're using one of the acorn guys that can make themselves longer. You have to get as tall as you possibly can with the acorn guy on top of the block, on top of the not block, but on top of the box, the coin box. To get on top of it, get as tall as you can, pop out of the acorn mode, wall slide, throw your cap, jump on your cap to turn around, and hopefully be in a good spot to where you can be wall sliding again to like throw your cap one or two more times. And like, at this point, just do the sequence. You're not doing much because you still have to do the Yoshi sequence after. So what's the point? There's no point in this except for to get the coins.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But it feels good to do it. It felt really good to do it. And I was proud of myself because I'm not a good platformer. 3D platformers I'm better at, but I'm not a good platformer. It's the way I play and process games, and the way my brain processes controlling a character. If the camera is not always behind the character, especially in a platformer, I cannot even fucking fathom how to make certain jumps. And so that's where I have an issue when it comes to some 3D platformers, especially Mario 3D platformers. Cameras might be a little off and not great to where like it needs to be specific. But some of these end sequences, like you need to be turning on a dime, you need to be moving accurately, very quickly, to not be able to easily control the camera all the time. And then it got tough. And I'm like, man, I did it. I got all the moons in Mario Odyssey. 999 fucking moons. Who else in my friend group has ever fucking done this? No one. No one's done this.
I definitely haven't and never will.
Yeah, like I thought the most annoying moon was going to be 100 volleys. That one ended up being.
I remember you not looking forward to that one.
No, but that one actually ended up not being too terrible because it actually went. I didn't like doing it as Mario, but if you go into 2-player mode and throw Cappy, the second player can control Cappy. And so that's what I did, and I used Cappy to bounce because the hitbox for Cappy was bigger for Cappy hitting the ball.
So what I'm hearing is you cheated.
I mean, maybe you can say cheated, or it's a function of the game. That is, it made it a little bit easier. I mean, I 100% cheated on the fucking 100 bounces. 100% cheated on the 100 bounces. I told you or not bounces, 100 jump ropes. I told you what I did with that one.
Yeah. Yeah, so what you're saying is you didn't really get all the moons. You cheated.
No, as fuck that. No one's going to be able to make those jumps perfectly. I don't think anyone's ever actually done those 100 jump ropes properly.
There is probably somebody out there that's just stupid good and has the timing down pat that has done it.
But if you get the timing down pat, like if you jump the way you're supposed to, it seems like you're supposed to jump, you start to do longer jumps. Which means you're going to be in the air longer, which means you got to jump sooner. You got to hope you land faster. I don't know how you're going to be able to do that.
Somebody probably figured out like a pattern or something.
Yeah.
But any last things you want to say about Mario?
No, it was good. I'm trying to figure out next year's event, and I've been playing around with the idea of maybe doing Mario Wonder and doing like, I don't know what you fully collect, but maybe doing like 100 bits per level or something like that in like a Mario World-esque game.
Yeah, because that game is definitely more traditional Mario with it's level based, and you collect wonder seeds to unlock levels.
Yeah,
it's not the same as like the moons.
Yeah, and it's like I know there are a lot like levels in Mario World, like Super Mario World, that like you don't necessarily have to do, and there's let's say 100. But I mean, if there's only 100 levels in the game, then it's like, well, it's not really worth it because then your bang for your buck is going to be like 100 moons for a level, or 100 bit, or it's going to be like 500 bits for a level or something like that. Which, like, this was the only game that really made it fully worthwhile to have a good spread.
Yeah, like we kind of threw around things before where like the only other way to do it would be to do like the other 3D games as like a series, like do like all the games with some sort of like stipulation for like switching between them or something. Yeah,
like I talked about it on stream. We talked about it like maybe all the Korok seeds in Legend of Zelda, or all the shrines in Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, as well as Korok seeds. But like the point of the game, the point of the thing is, there's a chance I might not beat the game, and you don't need to do all the shrines to beat Legend of Zelda. So what would be the point in doing like, hey, pay for me to do all the extra shit in this game? It doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
So, well, I don't know. Figure it out. Maybe.
Well, you've got most of the year.
I just came up with an idea. You guys have to buy lives in a FromSoft game.
I mean, that's something.
It's every time I die, it counts down, and you guys have to donate to increase the total number of lives I have. And if I can beat the game in under X amount of lives, and if I beat the game with lives left, I have to go to a different game.
Yeah, I mean, that could work. People do like those FromSoft games.
I'll have to think about that. That's interesting.
Yeah, but I think that'll probably do it for this week.
That's a show for sure.
So if you would like to find more of our content, you can head over to www.one-quest.com. You can also help us out by supporting us at patreon.com/onequest. Can't support us there with your dollars, though. You can go to your favorite podcast platform, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify. Rate us, review us, subscribe to us. All of it helps. You can also find us on social media, facebook.com/onequestonline, or at @1_quest on Instagram and Twitter. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/onequestvideo. And you can always send us an email to social@one-quest.com. And Rich, what is your schedule for streaming?
Twitch.tv/b_1 is for video game streaming Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. This Saturday, bonus stream day. At some point, I don't have a time yet, I will be doing a Lego build. I will be building the Adam West Batman mask bust.
Nice.
And depending on how long that takes me, I might also build the Mando helmet bust as well. I have 2 Lego sets. If it only takes me an hour to build a Lego set, I might do 2. If it takes me longer than an hour to build a Lego set, I might just do the 1. It really depends on how long it takes. And I will be starting Star Ocean's Second Story R this Sunday. So if you want to see me play that, come hang out.
Cool. And with that, we will be back next week with something else to talk about. Oh, we'll actually be back next week to talk about the Toxic Avenger for our book club.
Yes.
And other things.
Others.
But thanks for listening.
Bye.